Jim Gilley, and since shortly after September 11, it's been my privilege to coordinate the various endeavors of the North American Division of Seventh-day Adventists in response to the tragic events of 9/11 in New York, Washington, and Pennsylvania. In the year that has passed, I think we have all begun to realize that this was an event that impacted all of us, wherever we live, here in the United States or anywhere in the North American Division or the world. I read recently that more than 150 books have been or are about to be published that deal with September 11. It is the most documented and photographed event in war or peace, and no other news event has inspired so many books. On the first anniversary of those tragic events, the media will try and provide some perspective for what has happened in the last 12 months. And in a specific way, this special program does the same thing. Included in this program are video segments that describe, for the most part, how our Adventist media covered the tragedies and how Adventists responded to the situations. This is just a small glimpse of how your church responded. And included here are most of the media programs that were broadcast via television and satellite networks by the church in the weeks that followed 9/11. Also included are the messages of encouragement and hope that came from Elder Don Schneider, our North American Division President, and Elder Jan Paulson, the President of the General Conference. There are some programs here that tell the stories of Adventists who came to New York to be of service following the tragedies, and these stories are told with simple eloquence in video programs that were produced by the people who lived the stories for their own use back in their own home church or school. And we present them here with great pride, not because of their technical quality, but because they help to tell the story of how our church responded. There's some programs here from our media ministries, programs that were produced as quickly as possible following the tragedies. There are reports of some of the initiatives that we took on as a church collectively, and some of the most moving segments come from those who were living in New York City at the time of the tragedies, our brothers and our sisters who saw the towers fall with their own eyes and who lost loved ones and colleagues in the collapse. Now, this is not a complete record of Adventist endeavor. It's far from it. Cameras were simply not present in the hundreds of activities that our church has taken on in response to these events. In the Washington Post and the New York Times, there were full-page ads that were sponsored by our church, messages of hope and encouragement for the communities that were hardest hit by the tragedies. Our various organizations and departments and institutions pulled together as one team in response to Elder Schneider's call for Adventists to come to New York. I want to particularly acknowledge our academies and colleges, universities, many of which sent groups of young people with a message of hope and encouragement to the people of New York City. I want also to mention the extraordinary contributions made by ASI in this endeavor. It's impossible to tell the whole story of how our church responded. It's impossible to mention every single person by name who was so much a part of this. But with the stories that you will find here, you will get at least a partial picture of how Adventists have tried to fulfill their calling to be the hands and the feet of Jesus, and that have carried the gospel to New York with their hands and their hearts. We offer these programs here as a retrospective, a look back that may help us better understand how the church responded to the tragedies, and more importantly, as a reminder of the ministry that God has called us to continue, particularly in New York City.